All right, so on today's podcast, we're going to talk about having a relationship with Jesus. Because everybody has to have them some Jesus and coffee. Right?
Coffee.
For those coffee lovers out there, you know.
Coffee.
I know.
I was thinking of her.
Okay, well, Jesus and tea. Jesus and tea.
tea.
But anyways, having a relationship with Jesus, what would you guys say your ideal relationship with Jesus is?
To be connected. I mean, just like he says, you know, like in John, that he's the vine and we are the branches. You know, the branch cannot exist without the vine.
Isn't there a joke about that? Like, make like a tree and branch. What is it?
No, make like a tree and leaf.
And branch? Never mind. Do not make like a tree and leaf, okay?
No, but it's true. Like, it's important to be connected, you know, like constantly
Yeah.
connected to him. Because when a branch starts to break off a little bit, it'll die completely. And within a certain amount of time, will be cast away by just a certain
He's
wind.
like your steady ground, you know? He
Yeah.
keeps you firm.
Yeah.
And that's really like what it is.
You know, and I like that they use that a tree, because if a tree's not rooted, what happens? It dies.
Exactly. I was talking to your kids about that today, actually, when
Yeah.
I was driving them to music practice.
About trees and branches.
No, because we saw an uprooted tree, and
Yeah.
I took opportunity to put a little Jesus in there,
That's
you
how
know,
we do it.
and say, you know, like when we don't put our roots in Christ, you know,
Yeah.
then any trouble that comes along, any wind that blows,
Yeah.
we're just completely falling from it.
Yeah, like for instance, like there's a tree outside of my house, right? And there has been about, in my whole block, like so many trees have fallen. Okay, but this tree is solid. Like, I ain't gonna lie, a couple branches have fallen here and there. Just like our, relationship with Christ, sometimes it's kind of rocky, right? We kind of step 1 foot in, 1 foot out, and we find ourselves in trouble sometimes. you
Yeah.
know?
Piece of us feels like it's
Yeah,
breaking off.
but that tree is solid. Like, nothing has happened. It has not uprooted. I think they came to my house and said, "Would you like us to get rid of your tree?" I'm like, "No, don't touch that tree." You know,
You're
because
so lucky we had to turn our tree
Yeah,
down.
and it chopped down. We saw it both the same day, and we're like, it's gonna fall down.
Yeah, like literally God spoke to both of us separately, like chop it down. And I told him, he's like, "Oh my gosh, me too!" And it's just gone now. It was so
What?
beautiful and big and backyard.
But you
anyway,
can see
sorry.
it was kind of like,
But see,
Yeah.
That's
it
the
was
point.
not rooted in
When
Christ,
it's
so it
not
had to
connected.
leave.
When
It
it's not
had to
connected.
leave.
Yeah.
So, okay, so like you said, being the vine, being close to God, being one with Jesus,
Yeah.
right? What would you say your ideal relationship with Jesus would be? What is your relationship with Jesus like? Not to put you on the spot or anything, but
Yeah, I'm putting words.
she's like, I just love him so much.
I think it's love. That would be my relationship. Because no matter what I do, what I think, what I say, like he's always gonna love me. I can go like miles or days without praying, and if I were to just come back, and pray for just a minute, he'll be like, he'll open, like have his arms wide open, just because I'm coming back to him. So I think that's the main one, love. Like even sometimes, I mean, parents say they love you,
But I don't
no
know.
matter what you do, but sometimes, like, I want to smack you.
That's why I don't like the comparison of like God with parents, because especially as a youth pastor, I see sometimes that parents, no matter what, sometimes we're human,
Yeah.
and God's not human.
Yeah.
He's a completely different example of that, and you take a kid who had a really bad childhood with his dad, or a dad that beat him,
Yeah.
then when he sees, oh, this is your God, your father, and it's like, but that's not what God is. God is love. He's always there. He died for us.
Yeah.
Everything he did was for us. He thought of us. He cared for us.
Yeah.
And his whole life was us.
That's
You
why I
know?
think my main one with my relationship with God is love. Because nothing else like compares to it. Like not my parents' love, nobody's love, but his. So
I think mine would be more like as a friend. Like think of like like your best friend times a million. He's there no matter what. Like you don't see your friend for like 3 days, and you see him and you're like all over each other. And you're like having the time of your life.
Yeah.
You talk to him like a friend. That's the way I do
He's
it.
like giving you the stink eye because you didn't text him back. You know what I mean?
No,
It's
and
happened.
it's the,
Or left
it's
you
just-
on red. How many times have we left Jesus on red, man? Honestly,
yeah.
we have guilty.
But it's the
Guilty.
stability of God.
Yeah.
That he's always there for us. And I always think of a story that I heard about an old man that was with his wife, and they were in a truck, and they pull up to a stoplight, and she looks to the right, and there's another truck that pulls up, and it's a young couple, and he has his arm around his his girlfriend, and and the old lady looks at her husband. She's like, "How come you don't do that to me anymore?" And he looks at her and he's like, "I've been in the same place I've always been. You're the one who moved over there."
It's like, drop
You
the
know?
mic.
God has always been in the same place, and we're the ones who leave. But when we come back to Him, He's there with arms wide open, ready to embrace us, like if nothing ever happened. And that's not a relationship we'll ever find anywhere on this earth. And it's something that we lack and we need, and it's a hole that we have, and we go looking everywhere for it, but it's right there for us, just waiting for us to scoot over.
And I think that's why, like, you know, we're doing this because this podcast, because we want to encourage you guys to have a relationship with Jesus, because there's nothing like it anywhere.
Yeah.
Like you said, it's like your best friend times a million. It's like, you know, that steadiness, right?
And it's different for everyone else.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be like in a box.
No, it doesn't.
different.
No, you know what? I was talking to somebody about that the other day, because they were just like, I'm not close to Jesus. I'm like, okay, why are you not close to Jesus? Because I don't read my Bible the way she does, or I don't do this the way they do. And I'm just like, okay, that doesn't mean anything.
No.
Your relationship with Jesus is your relationship with Jesus. So I told her, be careful who you're following, or be careful, you know, because sometimes, you know, I am guilty of that. Like, I follow a lot of people like on TikTok or Instagram, right? And you strive to be like that because
I mean, it's great. They're
it's good.
inspirational.
Yeah, they're
but
inspirational. But the moment that you start putting your eyes on that and not your eyes on Jesus, then you start feeling like, because I'm not doing that, that I'm not worthy. You know what I mean? But I was like, no, like, it's not a box. Like, honestly, like, I'm not a heavy prayer. Like, I have a hard time. Like, my prayers are quick.
Yeah, me
snappy.
too.
You know,
the
they're
same way.
they're to-go prayers. You know what I mean? Let's go. And I wish I was like that. Or those people that are on their knees and they pray
For hours on time, yeah.
You know, like, I wish I was like
My
that.
grandma was like that,
Yeah.
and I always feel guilty. But it's like that was her relationship
Yeah,
with God.
right.
you
Well,
know?
that's not me. And I for a long time, I felt like because I'm not like that, then I'm not close to God, right? But then I found that the way I connect with God is through worship. Like, so that and it's funny because that's how I connect, right? But because that's the way I connect, guess what God did? He plugged me in somewhere where I would constantly be connected, and that's the worship band.
Yeah.
Because that's how good He is. He always thinks about you. What's the best for you? He always wants the best for you. And sometimes I feel like we don't even want the best for ourselves. Like, He wants the best for you, and you stray this way.
I know.
You
We're
stray
like,
this way.
no. This
Yeah,
I want to go over
no.
here. This is pretty.
Yeah,
you know?
and it took me a long time. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I ran from this ministry for a long time. Pastor Ye was like, come sing with us. I don't want to do this. No, thank you. For a long time I ran from it. But what I didn't know is that God was like, hey, like, this is your plug-in. You know what I mean? This is the way you plug in, connect.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that. I'm even now, like, it's hitting me hard. Like, this is my box. This is the way I worship God. You know, this is my way. And it works, right? So everybody has that special connection with Jesus, with God, that works for you. And that's why we're here to talk about that. How can you connect with Jesus?
How can you find your it spot with Him?
Yes.
It's like He created all of us different, you know, all our fingerprints are different, therefore our relationship with Him is going to be different according to what, like,
Dude,
yourself.
I love that. Yes.
Yeah.
Every fingerprint is different, unless you're me and don't have fingerprints. I literally don't have fingerprints. You know, they're all like really scratched away. Every time I take fingerprints, I say you don't have fingerprints. But anyways, yeah, everybody's relationship with Jesus is different, and that's neat. And we want to encourage you to continue to just find a way, right? Find a way. When can you say that you actually said, like, this is it? This is my way. Like, the way I Jesus and I are like this because of this.
I think for me, it was just like a slow realization.
Yeah.
You know, like how Leslie had mentioned it earlier, how like, oh, this is not, you know, Pastor Joanna's God or Pastor's God. It's the same thing. You know, growing up in a home that God was constantly there, I had to see when it was a slow realization that, oh no, He's my God. He's answering my prayers, not my parents' prayers, but my prayers. He's there when I need Him. And when I was little, I always used to say that God felt to me like a warm blanket.
Yes.
Like when you're cold and freezing and you slip under the covers,
There's a
and it's just
thunderstorm going on.
this
you know?
warmth
Yeah.
and this pressure and this comfort. you know. And even now, when I think about it, when you were asking them, that's what I felt. To me, God is that warm blanket that just covers you and makes you feel so safe. You just fall asleep like there's no cares in the world.
Like a San Marcos blanket.
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah.
With a giant tiger right there.
Yes.
No, those used to make me rash out really bad.
Like she was talking about that. You guys don't have many San Marcos blankets?
No,
No, we don't
not
have
the
one. I wanna
brand
get
San
one.
Marcos.
I think you.
I need that tiger protector from the monster.
The tiger to protect
Make it the Lion of Judah, though. You know?
Those San Marcos are the best. You know? But yeah, like I said, everybody would everybody finds, I guess,
Their sweet spot.
their sweet spot. That's a good way to say it. Their sweet spot, the
Yeah.
fingerprints, like.
And I think as we grow, the same way that we're not the same person, I'm not the same person I was when I was 20, but God has grown with me there. You know, He's a different God to me now than He was then. Always great,
According
always
to your
amazing,
needs.
but just more and different. Always
Yeah.
exciting, always new.
And you're constantly learning.
Yeah.
That's why, like how we're doing this podcast so people can learn, and
But
even
we're
though-
learning too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Like even though we're here, and talking about Him and encouraging others to learn and talk about Him too, like we're learning as
Yeah,
well.
seeing different perspectives on what people's views are.
Yeah.
That's why I'm really excited to hear about the comments and things like that. Just
Yeah.
to read and get to talking to new people.
Yeah, let us know. How's your relationship with Jesus? Like, what's your sweet spot? If you have one. If you don't, we encourage you to get one, to find your sweet spot. What is it? Is it music? Is it writing, journaling? Is it reading? Is it praying feverishly? Is it praying on the go? What is it? What is it? There's no, like Edgar said, there is no box. There's no such thing. And that's why we're here. Because we want to really let you know that. So many times we're told that it's like this, it's like this, it's like this. Well, this is what Unbound is about. To be unbound from those lies of the enemy.
Amen.
It is not like this and like this and like this. No, it's your fingerprint. It's your sweet spot. What Jesus and what God's doing for you. What works for you. You know what I mean? I say whatever keeps you afloat, right? Just jump on it.
Yep.
Stay on there like the disciples
As
of
long
Jesus,
as it's
right?
Christ-centered.
Yeah, as long as it's Christ-centered. Don't
It's
go
important.
worshiping those spaghetti god. I don't know if you guys heard about that a couple years ago. People were worshiping like a spaghetti god.
It came from a university, yeah.
No, that shows you that there's a desperate need for Jesus and hope.
They're probably just so used to being in that box and they didn't want
They
that
don't want that.
relationship. That
Because deep inside of us, we
Yeah.
all are looking
We're
for
all
God.
desperate.
We don't know we are. Many
Yeah.
people don't realize that they're looking for Him until they find Him and be like, oh, that was it.
This is what was missing, from their lives.
It's nice to talk to each other about this because a lot of times you feel like you're alone in that struggle finding your sweet spot. You know what I mean? You feel like I said, the lies of the enemies are so intense and you feel like, am I ever going to get there? Am I ever going to
But there's no rush. There's absolutely no
Yeah.
rush. We always put a time limit on ourselves. As humans, we feel like time is against us, but it's not. We have, as long as you're focused on Christ, the rest will flow. Everything will come into place. You'll find that spot, whether it's now, whether it's a little bit later. As long as you're looking for it, you'll feel fulfillment.
God sees the effort.
Yeah, it'll be there.
Yeah.
We're not in a time limit. There's no time
Yeah.
limit. This isn't high school where you have to get it done in 4 years, you know?
she always
Not
tells
even.
me that. There's no rush.
Never.
We're the ones always rushing ourselves to graduate, rushing ourselves to get that promotion, rushing ourselves to have babies, rushing. And it's God's timing is perfect.
And that's
you know?
something I've learned recently too, because from my culture, our people are always going, never stopping. I mean, if you've ever met my parents, you'll know we're just always going. And the last few years, I'm like, no, there's no rush. I don't have to do that.
Yeah.
Just relax in where you are. So I suggest that you take the time, especially in the morning. Even when you're brushing your teeth, just do your prayers. Just pray right there when you're driving. Listen to a couple of Bible verses.
was pretty relatable. I listen to the Bible app all the time. When
Because
I'm
you
driving,
travel a lot.
Yeah, I'm driving 2-3
I
hours.
never thought about listening to the Bible app. Oh no! Have you seen it? Sorry, I don't mean to cut
No,
you off.
that's fine.
But have you guys heard when you can choose when so you're reading the book of John, you can choose the voice, and sometimes they have a voice that it has like ocean sounds in the back.
Really?
Oh, I
Fall
love
asleep.
the British man.
Yeah, it's like
The
breathing.
British man voice.
Continue.
No, that's true though. Like I didn't know that you could choose different
Yeah,
voices and
so
different things like
sounds
that.
really nice. But yeah, it's good to challenge, even sometimes challenge yourself to have a good relationship with Jesus, because, sometimes even like me, like I'm human, so I wake up, obviously I'm human, but I wake up and sometimes like instead of the first thing, me just like praying, like it's easy for me to get on my phone and start checking like what do I have to do today, or who texted me, or whatever, because
Or just straight on TikTok. I'm not
Yeah.
even lying with that one. That happens all the time.
I'm a mom of 5, so the first thing I do is like, okay, the pediatrician called me, the teacher called me, and right away, just I'm like, on go, 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 go. And the last thing on my mind is like, oh, I need to pray. So, and then I find myself praying while I'm brushing my teeth, but hey.
No, I'm the same way. I get up and I go. I'm like, once I'm up, I'm up. And that's why like brushing my teeth while I'm doing that, praying, it's the best way because it's a routine. So it becomes a routine and it becomes a habit and a connection with it.
Mine's a little different because like, I don't have kids, but I go to school, and it took a long time for me to develop the habit. But first thing I do is read my Bible, like even if it's on my phone, like that's the first thing I do, because I don't want to go through Facebook, I don't want to go through Instagram and be the first thing that I see, So it took, like I said, it took a really long time
to train
and
yourself.
honestly, like the streaks on there, it helps because I'm like,
You're
I don't want to break
on
my streak.
I'm on a roll.
Yeah, I don't want to break my streak. So
You don't want to
like,
look at my streak.
hey, but like you said, we're human,
Yeah.
But like things like that help. And so just reading your Bible, being like the first thing, just developing a habit, like Pastor Anna said, like just talking to him. Like me, like right now, I'm really booked up with exams, Even though I developed the habit of reading my Bible, like being the first thing in the morning that I read or that I see, I do sometimes forget to pray and having a moment like bless my day, However, I use school to still incorporate him in there. Like for example, like I said this week, super crammed with a bunch of exams. But I'm like, Lord, like help me through this. Allow my brain to be a sponge and like get all the information, like while I pray while I'm studying. And then when it comes to the exam, I take a moment and I pray. Like I know I'm wasting minutes.
No, you should always pray.
Yeah.
No, I saw a TikTok, going back to TikTok, I saw a TikTok where this guy goes, did not study for my test, but prayed all the way to my exam.
Yeah.
So he prayed and he aced it. And I told my friend, like, did you ever do this? She goes, oh my God, I did it all the time.
Yeah.
She goes, I'm not telling you not to study. That's not what I'm saying. But I am trying to say, my God is good, because she said that she wouldn't study, right? And she would be so scared, and then she would start praying, and she said she passed every test. And I'm like, and I'm
That's
not gonna
honestly
lie,
with me.
I've never done that. I've always, and I think that's where my struggle is. I always lean on my own understanding, and it's awful that I do that. You know what I mean? Because it's a habit.
Yeah.
It's a habit that I can break. I grew up where I had to be very independent, and if you follow my sister on Instagram, no, I'm very independent, and I had to learn to be like that. So up to now, I'm independent. Like, okay, in my test, it's my own understanding. I never thought like pray and let God give me the understanding and and ace the test. You know what I mean? So I'm learning. Like I'm still learning now. She literally told me that's what I did. So like,
Yeah,
I believe you.
I think in growing up,
like,
I grew up different. I grew up like everything was prayed for. Every
so
single
crazy.
thing.
Yeah.
Before we went to school, after, when I was struggling tying my shoes, my dad sat down and prayed for me to learn how to tie shoes, So it's like that. And it's because I was raised like that, it is a habit. Like I can't do the Bible app. I can't. I need to flip the pages. I'm old like that though.
Yeah.
I need to have my little highlighter and do all that and make an event out of it.
But I think it's just incorporating, just talking to God.
Yeah.
And just the littlest of things. Sometimes I'm a really straightforward and blunt person. You guys know that. So like even when I'm like, God, should I do this? And God's just, at least, because we all create a version of our own God. Like it's no longer my parents' God. It's no longer like Pastor Joanna. She was my youth pastor, and it's no longer Pastor Joanna's God that I follow. It's my God because I've seen him work in my life. So therefore, when I speak to him, he kind of responds like how I need it.
You hear
You
him
know?
and
Yeah.
you feel him.
Yeah,
You
how
know,
I
and
need it.
different-
So
yeah.
I'm like, God, like I don't want to do this, but should I do it? And in my head, it's like, you know, you should do this. Why are you even questioning
I love it.
Why are you even questioning
You know,
it? I'm
I
like,
love
okay.
it. Now I'm thinking, you know how people say like, I hear God spoke to me like this, or God told me this, but I never thought. Do you hear him? Does he manifest himself in the way that is relatable to you?
Yeah.
That
To
is
me,
intense. I never thought about
No,
that.
to me, I always felt like
He's
if it
super
was
savage to me, honestly, because I'm a savage person and I need that. So
no, to me, it feels like
wow.
you know the Prince of Egypt when when Moses sees God
I
and God
love
speaks,
that
right?
part.
That part's my favorite part. But honestly, the voice of God is composed of everybody who was an influence in Moses' life.
Oh my God.
And with his own voice being one of the lead voices, you know? So like a lot of times we expect to hear God's voice like this booming voice inside of
Mind's
us.
blown. My
But
mind
no,
is
it's
blown.
just that subtle push towards the right direction.
No, I
You know?
promise you, my mind is blown because, for instance, like I asked my husband one day because he's Hmong, and I asked him, "How do you think?"
Oh yeah.
And he says, "I think in Hmong," and I'm like, "What?" And he goes, "Yeah, I think in Hmong. My thoughts are in Hmong." And I'm just like, right,
That is
like right
weird.
now, your mind's blown, right?
Like, that is
So
weird.
in my head, I'm just like, oh, okay, that's weird, right? My mind was super blown. So my mind is super blown right now because I am thinking, oh, that's so crazy that he manifests himself in the way that you need it, right? Like you said, I'm a savage person. So, like, you know, I'm a softie, you know, so I need God to speak to
That's where
me.
the subtle push comes
You know,
from.
I need him to be nice, you know what I mean? But then I'm also very, very stubborn, a little bit like, like you said, doubting Thomas. So sometimes he has to do that, and that's when I know he's being real, and I'm like, you know, I need to stop pushing those limits, you know. So wow. Okay.
Yeah, the Lord. If you give the Lord space and time, He will speak to you.
That's okay.
You know?
If-
And not just in the shower when you're washing your hair, because that does happen a lot.
For the audience out there, if you know Jesus has manifested himself, you know, in you, and you hear him, and he has spoken to you, let me know. How does he speak to you? Because that's intense. That blew my mind.
But God
Is he
has a way of
soft?
having an individual relationship with every single person.
Does he talk to you in Hmong? I'm gonna go ask my
That's
husband.
crazy.
I'm gonna ask my husband that. Does he speak to you in Hmong?
You know, I'll ask my parents because like we all grew up speaking Spanish, you know, but in me it's English, you know, so like it's weird to think about it like that.
Yeah. Does God talk to them in Spanish?
Yeah.
So my mom says that he speaks to her in Spanish. She goes,
Yeah.
I hear him in Spanish.
That's so
I'm
cool.
sorry. This probably just went way the other way. Sorry,
No,
guys.
see, that's the point of Unbound, to like blow minds and open doors in relationship with God.
Yes.
And let them know that it's not just one way. You know, there's so many things.
There's
that we
Yahweh.
can talk about.
There's no one way, there's Yahweh.
There's so many things that we can talk about. You know, just go different routes, and it's
Yeah.
just
Nice.
crazy.
Nice. Yahweh.
So yeah, again, if you have any questions, just put them down there,
Yeah.
comments, anything. We'll address them in the next one. Maybe not us, but the next people who are up here.
Yeah,
You know?
I know you guys might want us, but sorry, we
Alright.
gotta take turns.
Yep.
We gotta take
Next
turns.
time.
We gotta pass the mic. So thank you for joining us once again on Unbound. We hope to see you guys next week. Of course, different individuals, but same awesome topics. And we will see you guys.
Don't forget to subscribe.
Don't forget to subscribe. That's super important.
Yes.
And share, because by you sharing, you can save someone's life.
Yes.
So save lives, share, and subscribe.
Bye.
Bye.